Speaking of Google, yesterday the tech giant made the move to ditch its forced arbitration policy for all internal matters following mass protests by employees. The company had ended mandatory arbitration hearings for sexual harassment back in November after more than 20,000 employees around the world participated in a large-scale walkout. The move goes into effect on March 21st. So this seems to be this is great news if you're an employee over at Google. It's unfortunate for anyone that had filed those sexual harassment claims because they can no longer go back and appeal. But I mean, it seems to me like really great news for anyone that works at
But what about
Google.
For Google? It's good for the employees, but what about for Google itself?
So I actually would argue that this type of move is actually good for shareholders and good for investors, because no one wants to be involved in a company that treats its workers badly and whose news comes out that they treat their workers badly. You have to think about Fox, right? All of the news about sexual harassment, their shares plummeted after that.
Well, I mean, that was just a bad situation.
And the reason you don't hear about this news is because of these arbitration policies. And so allowing essentially large corporate wrongdoing to end via, court cases can actually work out, I think, in the long run in a company's favor. But to your point, obviously, no company wants to be on the hook or potentially be facing litigation after litigation after litigation.
The story to me is employee action succeeding.
Yeah.
There was a walkout. The voices have been heard.
I love that. It's a success story for the workers, right?
It is. No,
how many stories do we cover about Facebook where we say, oh, and on its internal employee network, a posting complaining about this, and then people criticizing the poster and saying, don't do, and all this internal fighting. And it's like in this case, everyone agreed that they disagreed with longstanding policy. They walked out. They demonstrated. It worked. The company has heard you.
Yep. And they're taking decisive action rather quickly, considering how large of a company it is and how big of a deal this is. They pulled it off really quickly. I'm surprised.
They're participating in ending forced arbitration for all big corporations, right? They're going to be heading to D.C.
It's going to be a rising tide now, right?
Exactly. And I think it's worth it. We've had the Me Too movement. Essentially, this has all come from the fact that a lot of these corporations have been able to sweep sexual harassment and sexual assault under the rug at their companies. Meanwhile, they let big executives, C-suite execs go with millions of dollars in severance
We're
packages.
so sorry to have to fire you for the horrible thing you did.
Exactly.
So we'll give you a nice amount of money.
Here's $39 million. Right. So to your point, this is all about employee action working and winning.
Yay.
And I actually think that, again, I think investors and shareholders will win in the long run because, frankly, having information will always help investors. You don't want to put a bunch of money in a company and then, 10 months later, you find out you have a Weinstein scandal.
Very
lurking in the shadows. So.